Hello, everyone. Um, Within the lecture Use the Room, Higher Education Pedagogical Methods for Active Classrooms, I will give you one more example. So in this video, we have case 2, which I call Paths into a Profession. It's a workshop in the subject teacher program in Swedish language. Active learning techniques are well suited for teachers as they are to be socialized into their future profession. Yeah, it's because they are to be, this case deals with LC activities in the subject teacher program. We describe how student activity increases in ALC and involves more students compared to teaching in traditional lecture formats. So the course is language structures and language variation, basic level. We have approximately 48 students in this group, the University of Gothenburg. And regarding the room layout, it's there are 6 round tables in the room, each with a whiteboard and monitor, chairs on wheels, and a teacher's desk with remote control. Students can use their own laptop, one laptop per group or similar product, similar. And time required 2 hours per activity. And we had 2 activities. Yeah, 2 activities are described. So objectives on the LC activity. Language structure and language variation is the first subject course that participants in the Swedish subject teacher training program at the University of Gothenburg encounter. Students will become teachers in grades 7 to 9 and upper secondary school. In this first module, they have their first encounter with Swedish grammar, including grammar didactics, and are also introduced to social linguistics. In the module, in the sub-course, our LT is used for different types or lesson plans that are relevant to the objectives, learning objectives. And the learning objectives are the following. Students should be able to account for social linguistic variation and trace patterns. Students should be able to use linguistic analysis tool, be able to reflect didactically on how such tools can be applied in Swedish teaching at school, and be able to account for subject didactic theories relevant to the future professional role. The same lesson plan has previously been implemented in traditional classrooms, but since 2020, it has been explored whether and how LC can support learning. The structure of the subcourse includes lesson in ALC, with the learning of grammar skills and cross-group presentations on sociolinguistics. In addition, a workshop on linguistic variation in student text is included. Our choice of pedagogical structure is motivated by the fact that students should gradually develop a basic professional knowledge during their studies. Our general view of professional knowledge is that it is based on an integration of practice and theory. By practice, we refer here more specifically to the choice of teaching method. Students need to try out different um, both evidence-based and traditional methods during the education, which contributes to good conditions for didactic considerations in future professional practice. Theory, with this term, we refer in this case in basic scientific concepts and the central result in grammar and sociolinguistics, with a focus on research in Swedish. The first ALC activity is about grammar. The majority of the module concerns this very subject, which most of the students do not have much knowledge about. However, the subject part of the Swedish teacher training uses a grammatical meta-language and analytical skills throughout, which means that the students in this first module must acquire the knowledge very quickly. One analysis tool that is new to them is a so-called sentence schema, where the word order of Swedish is interpreted using a table-like scheme with 7 positions. In order to practice this, the students are divided into smaller groups to allow for more feedback from the teacher. During the course, the groups meet for 4 separate practice sessions in our ALC. What is practiced has been introduced in a lecture 2 days before the ALC lessons. Step by step, the students then get to practice more advanced analysis and the practical use of the meta language that will be needed later during the training. In the first ILC exercise, approximately 15 students take their places at the tables. In the response groups, they are divided into during the course. There will be 3 to 4 students at each table. Each table will receive its own paper with sentences that the groups will analyze. The first time this happens is 2 days after the sentence scheme is introduced. Then 3 further ILC sessions with a similar structure follow during the course. During the introduction, the students have discovered through their linguistic intuition about Swedish sequence that it's reasonable to use a scheme to analyze Swedish sentences. The teacher explains in ILC that the different tables have been given different sentences to analyze, but not that all sentences are built according to the same pattern. The students are therefore analyzing the same structure, but with different content. The students work in a group-wide cloud document connected to the group screen. The teacher can see the process from the desk either via the desk monitor or by looking at the group's screens in the room. The students can ask for help, and the teacher can also choose to step in and support a group that seems to be stuck. When the groups have finished at least one sentence, and the analysis part ends, and the teacher introduces the first response part of the lesson. During this response part, all groups go around the room and take part in each other's analysis. During this part, the students write comments and suggestions on the whiteboard next to the monitors, and they are now beginning to become aware of the structural similarities that exist in the different sentences. The teacher and students conclude standing in the room with a summary part, a review of selected comments, and a joint discussion about why one analyzes in a certain way and not in another. The physical movement around the room during this phase, as the students walk around the room and stand up to discuss, seems to stimulate them and facilitate discussion. Sorry. After this, the phase starts again one or more times with new and slightly more complicated sentences to analyze till the 2 hours that the ALC lesson lasts are over. The number of analysis rounds depends on how much discussion and questions arise in the room. The repetition of the same exercise form means that the difficulty of the exercise can be increased without any problems. The second ILT activity deals with sociolinguistics, and take the form of a cross-group presentation. Here, the individual student is given greater responsibility for motivating and presenting the group's analysis, which of course places greater demands, but also promotes individual learning. In working with this area, the students receive oral and written instructions 4 days in advance, in conjunctions with a lecture. They must first prepare a presentation of a chapter on sociolinguistics from the course literature, together in a response group. For example, on themes such as dialect and sociolect, multi-ethnic use language and linguistic accuracy. And then 4 days later, present this in cross groups. So in division into response groups, of approximately 4 people per group is already done at the first lecture, and the students can immediately start working on their own with the preparations once they have received the instructions. The group preparations does take place before the actual ALC activity. During the reporting during the ALC activity, they are randomly divided into temporary cross groups with one person from each response group in each new group. During the lesson, each person gets to present their response group's review of the chapter to the others in the cross group. The conclusion is common with a general summary of and reflection on what has been said in the group. In total, 2 ILC activities with cross-group reporting have been carried out with different chapters as a starting point. We call it jigsaw method. This type of presentation is less suitable for a regular lecture hall. This is because the students are then allowed to sit in corridors and other spaces, and the teacher has to walk around them to observe and give feedback. In our ALC's classroom, students find their place easily. They can see each other and have access to slides and the whiteboard, which can be used for presentations. The hall is built to handle the sound of simultaneous group discussions, which makes it possible to speak in a normal conversational tone. And observation during the implementation of the cross-group reports is that a large proportion of students independently take the initiative to present with slides and projects. This is not something that the written instructions encourage, nor is it something they have been instructed to do orally. The presentations are ambitiously prepared with both written points and illustrated images or slides. So in this way, you can have your the activities. Well, how did it go? Since the lessons are centered around the student skill training in the grammar section and presentation and discussion in the section social linguistics, it's natural for the teacher to focus on short feedback and possibly concluding comment rather than on lecturing and reviewing. The teacher's activity is thus more interactive than is normally the case in, for example, in lectures. As a teacher in ALC, you clearly move from being the one who lectures and checks to being the one who introduces, guides, and discusses. The experience is that the students in ALC have greater control over their learning. During one of the grammar sections, one of them commented when the teacher asked it if they were satisfied with the room. These lessons are gold. This is where you learn. There was the responding. So one threw up his arms. The other respondents agreed. When it comes to grammar skills training, the teacher previously worked in a similar way to a regular classroom. Then the group had to work in pairs on the same sentence. The analysis was then presented by a pair of students on the board and discussed in class. This led to greater pressure on those students who would dare to show their analysis on the board, not least because there was often only one analysis per exercise that was discussed. With peer review in ALC, the vulnerability of individual groups is reduced and more people participate in the discussion. The cross-group presentations are experienced as educational, effective, and fun according to the course evaluations. So students evaluated them as effective, educational, and fun. And this is consistent with our impression. The student activity and initiative observed in the cross-group presentations is striking. Something that's worth considering further is that the students at the cross-group presentations come prepared with very ambitious presentations and slideshows, like without this being part of the instruction, as I mentioned before. A hypothesis that can be explored further is that ALC invites independent presentations, for example, with digital aids, by presenting more opportunities for the students in its design. A related idea is that the room contributes to them taking on a teaching role. This gives the students additional opportunities to develop a professional role, teaching role, professional role with experience and knowledge of a whole range of pedagogical methods, and not only those that are the tradition of the Swedish subject offers. Well, regarding the lesson learned, I can say that our experience is that pedagogical methods that combine mandatory preparation individually or in groups and focus on well-structured group discussions during class time with the teacher as moderator, commentator, and or responder. It's all this usually lead to lessons with student activity. One novelty, at least for us, is that ALC seems to take activity to a higher level. Discussions become more engaged, creative comments are more numerous, questions are formulated more independently than usual, and so on. The placement of tables, the design of chairs with wheels, the access to a screen for slideshows and a whiteboard, all these seem to facilitate and intensify all of this. The reasoning is in line with, for example, the study of Park and Choi result findings, whose their notions, whose study shows both an increasing in activity, for example, creativity and collaboration, and an increased spread of activity outside groups of high-performing students when implementing ALC. One lesson about ALC is that it matters a lot that students are not only in the room for a few lessons. There are many different elements of a course that work better in ALC than in traditional classrooms, which are often designed for one-way lectures with communication via questions. But it takes a certain amount of habit and routine for both teacher and student in the format is to be experienced um, and as natural and intuitive. The students connect learning to the technology in our ALC, but it's not the technology itself, uh, but how the technology is used that provides opportunities for learning. Student teachers need to be given the opportunity to reflect on this at some point during their education, since they will most likely not have access to ALC themselves in their future professional practice. Um, regarding the variants of the activity, I can say that ALC offers many opportunities to vary skills training in grammar. The approach presented above works well when students are encountered and subsequently become familiar with different analytical tools. A follow-up activity which can be used to advantage when students feel more confident about the sentence schema could be to use cross groups. When the group has completed its sentence schema analysis of schema, the analyses are thus presented in cross groups in a similar way to that presented above for elements in sociolinguistics. In the cross groups, the participants are allowed to present their group's analysis and discuss it with the other participants in the cross group. This means, as I mentioned earlier, that an individual student is given greater responsibility, which in most cases leads to a deeper learning of the knowledge. Another exciting development would be to take parts of the structure from the grammar skills training and apply it to the social linguistic course content. One possibility is to have all students read the same chapter in the textbook before the lesson and then discuss questions related to the chapter in the ALC room. For example, each table could have its own question written on the whiteboard. The group the group discusses the question and comes up with a common comment that's written in a discussion thread, and that's displayed on the screen. After about 20 minutes, the group changes tables and discusses another question. They read the previous group's discussion thread on the question and write a new post in the discussion thread as a current table. This can be used as a constructive alignment, and the threads can be integrated into examination presentations later on. That was all for this time. And Here you have the literature I have used it. Aronson's partner cooperation in the classroom, the jigsaw method. The article by King, From Sage on the Stage to Guide on the Site. The article by Park and Choi, Transformation of Classroom Spaces, Traditional versus Active Learning Classroom in College. The book by Rolf, Profession, Tradition, and Tasted Knowledge. It's actually in Swedish. And I recommend that you read this guide. You have it open on the net from the Stockholm's University. And I recommend that you see this video here is a video film from the LC activity students. They tell about their impressions and experience. Thank you for this time. Bye.